Your number 6 is, it's a legacy. It is what's left over of the DCEU. It is Jason Momoa, who is, this is basically the highest, the original was the highest, one of the highest grossing films in the DC universe, the DCEU, and one of the best received.
One.
Yeah, and honestly, the production design was probably should have been nominated for an Oscar if it wasn't.
Oh, yeah. VFX and everything.
Yeah, so the fact that we're almost a full year after the change in the Snyderverse, this is the last of the big movies to come out for the DCEU. So tell me about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, or Aquaman.
I'm a big fan of James Wan as a director. He made Malignant, which I will always praise him because that movie is insane. I really liked the first Aquaman. A lot of people are like, why did it make $1 billion? Because it looked amazing. Like, what do you mean? It's not Avatar amazing, but it's a different art style. I think that it was really fun. I think it was a simple premise. It was an origin story that we got that was just done in a fast-paced manner with colorful characters. It added a little horror in there. And I feel like what James Wan wanted to do, he just wants to double and triple down on all the things that worked in the first one. And Jason Momoa was a better actor now than he was when that first movie came out.
Yeah.
He is. Like, I remember I rewatched Aquaman. I was like, ooh, some of these scenes are rough when he's not being a aqua bro. When he's trying to be dramatic, I'm like, ooh, he's not emoting really well at all. But I've seen him in other things now where I'm like, oh no, he either James Wan didn't know how to direct him or he actually just became better actor. I think that he's a better actor. That means Aquaman 2 could be a better movie if they just hold on to the things that worked.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys too that if you really think about Jason Momoa, there's those guys like Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, Keanu Reeves. There are guys that are so good looking that it's almost distracting. So they have to have wild caveman hair. They have to dress down, if you will, because they're so good looking. It's a little distracting. And I think people forget that Jason Momoa is funny. He's a talented actor who's funny. And because he's so good looking and he's got so many muscles and tattoos and got great hair, I think everyone just sort of assumes that, you think about the first Aquaman movie, that the introduction to his character is 3 different shots in the same scene of him flexing and posing. And I was like, oh, come on. Like, okay, one hero shot, but, we get it. It's Jason Momoa. He's handsome.
Yeah.
But, he is a talented actor, too, on top of that. Like, He's the one guy with no experience that came out of Baywatch Hawaii. He came out of cable TV in Stargate Atlantis. Yeah. So he's a guy who has put in his time on his craft.
1,000 hours.
Yeah, working on television shows, working up in Canada, and not just famous for marrying Lisa Bonet.
That's like the least of his accomplishments, which is crazy.
which is a pretty good accomplishment in and of itself. Yeah. But he's a very talented actor, and I'm a little disappointed that here he gets the last final release date for the DCEU, and we already know that he's not coming back in Aquaman as James Gunn moves forward. I know a bunch of people have talked about him potentially playing Lobo, who, if you look up Lobo, if you Google Lobo in DC, it looks like Jason Momoa. If Jason Momoa didn't work out for 6 months and just ate donuts. So, that might be an excuse for him to be more comfortable with the lifestyle in terms of not having to work out. But, he's a guy that always...
feelings on him being Lobo, because I've always imagined Lobo as, reimagined as, a Spanish biker.
Oh,
interesting. Papi Chulo. What's his name? Danny Trejo, I think?
Yeah.
I think would be an amazing version of, Lobo. Just super serious, just real Spanish and hilarious. I think I got that feel from the Superman animated series because it was a Spanish voice actor who voiced him in that, and I always felt like they could play on that a little bit and take on some of the culture aspects and stereotypes there, and just kind of turn him on the head with Lobo and make him a badass. But Jason Momoa is going to do great if he does end up being Lobo, though.
And that would be interesting too, because you're right. He's as far as I know, he's not Hispanic. He's Pacific Islander. As far as I can tell. So that would be an interesting take, sort of recasting the character. I'm aware of Lobo, but I don't really know much about that character, so I don't know if he's a good fit or not. But just Googling Lobo in DC Comics, the character looks like Jason Momoa, so
No, he will be a good fit. It's like Deadpool in space.
Okay.
That's Lobo.
I like Deadpool in space. I like that. I love that. That is a great thing. And it's funny too because this is why our numbers are a little bit off, because I also have Aquaman 2 on my list. I have it a little bit lower. When you have a president that doesn't win re-election, that 3 or 4 months before he leaves office is called lame duck session. So this is sort of the DC Comics or the DC EU version of the lame duck thing.
Yeah.
They've already spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the final 4 films of the DCEU, and the first 3 of those 4 massively underperformed at the box office. And, for good reason. I liked The Flash. I liked Black Adam. I haven't seen Blue Beetle yet. I still need to watch that, but that one also failed. $25 million, I think, the first week for a superhero film.
Yeah.
And I know they've talked about potentially having Blue Beetle, if it does well in theaters, it could be in the new DC universe, but I doubt it. So normally a superhero of this kind of budget and quality in terms of Aquaman,
Caliber. Yeah.
it would normally be a lot higher on my list, but the fact that we're kind of limping across the finish line, sadly, for the DC.
Yeah.
So that's why it's lower. It's number 15 on my list. But yeah, I love, and I'm really curious though. I am really, really, really curious to see what they do with the story and how they wrap it up. And the fact that we have Ben Affleck showing up a little bit here, credited on IMDb as showing up in Aquaman 2 when he's already been replaced in the Flash movie. So the continuity is a little wonky, I think, a little bit here. But still, it's a big superhero film. As much as people make fun of Aquaman, oh, if you don't stop that, me and my fish are going to come over there, but that first film was so visual. It was so striking in its visuals. Even with Amber Heard as Mera.
She did a great job in the first film.
Yeah, she did. I'm really excited, though, to see Yahya Abdul-Mateen II come back. He was great as the new Morpheus. And, people forget, but he was in the Baywatch movie as the cop on land in short shorts riding a four-wheeler. That was him. And kind of giving Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson crap as Mitch Buchanan. So, he's
Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
Also.
Yes.
Great job as that. And he's going to be Wonder Man. He's swapping over to the MCU.
Oh, interesting. So, very, very talented guy. And I think trying to shoehorn him into Aquaman 1, I think, was a mistake. I wish they would have just stuck with the
Ocean Master.
Yeah, Ocean Master character. That storyline, I think, was more compelling, especially as an origin story where you're trying to establish Aquaman as the King of Atlantis. I'm really curious to see what they do in this sequel. I'll be curious to see if Randall Park shows up again in his small cameo role. We get Agent Wu from the MCU showing up in whatever character that was. I don't even know the character that he played, but that's sort of that wannabe bad guy, sycophant of the villain superheroes or supervillains. Yeah, all that, Aquaman 2, looking forward to it.